No one could have imagined that within minutes, a sharp statement from Jungkook would shake the very foundation long considered unshakable HYBE labels. With a tone that could not be interpreted as coincidental or merely emotional outburst, Jungkook conveyed something that for years had been tightly hidden behind the curtain of professional collaboration and perfect public image. And what's even more surprising, this statement did not emerge in defense of himself, but for someone who has long been the center of internal debate, Taehyung. What made Jungkook take such a huge risk? What exactly happened behind the scenes of Korea's entertainment industry that a star like Jungkook would choose to directly challenge the internal policies of the company that raised him? Is this an act of courage or a sign that his patience has truly run out? Sources who recorded the moments when the statement was made confirm that Jungkook was not joking. The words came during what was initially a casual conversation, in an interaction witnessed by foreign staff and fellow artists. His sentence was firm, uninterrupted, and carried a confrontational tone rarely heard from him. "I'm sick of rules made up just to keep us apart. If you want to keep controlling everything, then hate me entirely because I won't submit when it comes to Taehyung," reads the quote that quickly spread across social platforms. That sentence immediately ignited flames amid long-hidden embers. The question now is, was the statement the result of years of mounting pressure, or was it a signal that something happened in recent days that made Jungkook unable to stay silent? Some observers noted that since early this year, signs appeared indicating that Jungkook and Taehyung's personal and professional relationship was being disrupted by external forces. Not due to internal conflict between them, but more because of outside pressure forcing them to go separate ways. Many noticed that in some interviews, Taehyung and Jungkook seemed visually distant, yet symbolically closer, through matching outfits, subtle messages on social media, and even nonverbal expressions that couldn't be censored. In this context, Jungkook's words are not merely a spontaneous defense, but a form of resistance against a systematic pattern that has long attempted to erase the emotional bond they built. And if that is indeed the case, then it is undeniable that HYBE has long known what was going on, yet chose to continue pressuring, managing, and separating them for reasons never openly explained. Public reaction was immediately divided. Some said Jungkook was too emotional and unprofessional, yet most appreciated his courage in exposing what has long been an open secret, that there's a thin line between management and manipulation. And when an artist can no longer distinguish between the two, resistance becomes the only remaining form of communication. The chronology of this tension didn't appear out of nowhere. In recent months, speculation arose that special restrictions were unilaterally imposed on Jungkook and Taehyung's interactions, both on and off camera. One source working in the industry stated that any project involving the two had to pass multiple levels of approval under the excuse of avoiding branding conflict. But the public interpreted this as an inhumane form of covert prohibition, and now, with Jungkook's public statement explicitly naming Taehyung as the reason for this resistance, the discourse about HYBE's intervention in its artists' emotional relationships is back under scrutiny. Is this just about public image, or is there a greater fear from management if such bonds are allowed to grow uncontrollably? These are the questions now haunting fans. They wonder, if Jungkook had to speak that loudly, then what really happened to Taehyung? Does Taehyung know of a plan or decision he can't fight? Or has he become a victim of a system far greater than anyone could imagine? What's interesting is that Jungkook's statement came shortly after renewed rumors of a secret collaboration between Taehyung and a global musician resurfaced. Some fans even linked the moment to speculation that HYBE was trying to limit Jungkook's involvement in overseas projects personally tied to Taehyung. If this is true, then it's not just artistic restriction, but an intentional emotional severance. On the other hand, many consider Jungkook's statement as a sign that internal conflict has reached a breaking point. In a system long perceived as closed, structured, and unsupportive of independent action, such a statement could be seen as an ultimatum. In other words, Jungkook is not just speaking for Taehyung, but for himself. Perhaps having harbored deep disappointment all this time, a fundamental question now arises. Will HYBE respond to this statement? Or will they choose to silence it with their usual communication strategy? Silence, issue diversion, and dampened reactions? Or will they instead shift blame onto Jungkook with the artist too emotional narrative, often used to discredit internal expressions of dissatisfaction? One thing is certain: the public can no longer be fooled. When an artist of Jungkook's caliber risks speaking out in defense of someone else, this is no longer about gimmicks or marketing stunts. This is a reality behind the stage, and what once was a whisper among a few has now become a global debate. And if observed more deeply, Jungkook's statement carries a much broader implicit meaning: that the entertainment industry has become too powerful a machine to fight from within, and the only way to stop it is by destroying the illusion that everything is fine. In recent hours, platforms like Twitter and TikTok have been flooded with comments from fans who feel that now is the time to demand transparency from the agency. They demand clarity, not just about Jungkook and Taehyung's relationship, but also the internal policies long seen as inhumane. One comment reads, "If even Jungkook can speak out this strongly, then how many more have had to stay silent all this time?" Will this be the beginning of a major reform within HYBE, or the trigger for a permanent fracture between artist and agency? Nothing is certain yet, but what's clear is that this statement will not end here. The domino effect has begun, and anyone who thinks this is just a momentary spark will soon face the reality that once an artist chooses to speak out for the truth, nothing can stop them. The public now can only wait. Will there be a real response from those involved? Will Taehyung say something, or choose silence as passive resistance? And more importantly, how great a risk must Jungkook now bear after saying something so frontal and so personal? And if this statement truly is the peak of anger from an artist who feels betrayed by the system that once raised him, then one thing must not be forgotten: honesty always comes at a price. And perhaps this is the price Jungkook must pay for Taehyung, for himself, and for the truth that has been buried too deep by the machinery called the entertainment industry. What are the consequences of a statement spoken without compromise by a global icon to the institution that has sheltered him for over a decade? Is it courage, or the beginning of the collapse of a system that has maintained a fragile balance behind the grandeur of K-pop? Jungkook did not merely speak. He detonated a truth long buried under the words contract, strategy, and brand positioning. Yet the question remains: can the public truly distinguish between reality and a narrative carefully crafted to guide mass opinion? What happened 30 minutes ago was not a coincidence. It was the climax of a long sequence of silence carrying wounds, fractures, and inner conflict. The statement from Jungkook seems to have shattered the last layer of internal diplomacy that held the crack between himself, Kim Taehyung, and the entity that manages them. But is there any guarantee that what we heard today reflects objective truth? Through platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, this information spread within seconds. Video clips, unofficial transcripts, and speculation upon speculation became public consumption. But at this point, it is vital to ask honestly: are we witnessing factual reality, or are we victims of perception games orchestrated by vested interests? Is Jungkook truly rebelling for emotional freedom and personal integrity, or is this part of a narrative designed to stir tension amid promotional stagnation? We must understand that in modern entertainment, no information is entirely neutral. Everything that appears natural on the surface may have gone through arrangements, planning, or even fabrication. Therefore, when the public receives news of Jungkook defending Taehyung and attacking HYBE's policies, it must be questioned again: who truly controls this narrative? Is this the pure voice of an artist who can no longer endure repression, or a hidden agenda of those seeking to shape mass opinion for specific gains? Amid the emotional wave sweeping fans and the wider public, there are crucial questions that should be asked. Why is this statement emerging now? Does its timing relate to upcoming independent projects by Taehyung or Jungkook? Is there a link to long-term contracts nearing evaluation? Or is this simply a response to public pressure demanding transparency, closeness, and authenticity from their beloved artists? Undeniably, a frontal statement from someone like Jungkook has major impact, but impact does not always equal truth. Even honesty can be commodified in an industry where image is the main commodity. That's why it's important to refrain from excessive glorification and start analyzing each piece of information with critical precision. IT should be emphasized that as of now, there are no documents, official recordings, or objective confirmations that can verify the full context of the statement. All circulating information comes from indirect sources, often in the form of video clips without clear beginning or end, unverifiable quotes, and narratives reinforced by highly emotional online communities. Is this enough to form a conclusion? Or are we trapped in a feedback loop of reinforcing biases? If we want to fully understand the dynamics between Jungkook, Taehyung, and HYBE, more than emotional conviction is needed. Sharp thinking, healthy skepticism, and the willingness to see the possibility that all this may be part of a much larger and more complex scenario are required. The public must not become mere carriers of narrative, unaware they are being manipulated by illusions controlled by unseen hands. Therefore, it's important to ask deeper questions. Is Jungkook really opposing HYBE? Or is this a strategic step to keep both parties relevant to the public? Is Taehyung truly a victim of the system? Or is he playing a role already written for him? And most crucial of all, do we, the public, still have the ability to distinguish between fact and crafted image? We must consider that in every scandal that appears spontaneous, there's often strategy behind it. Even silence can be the most powerful form of communication. In this case, the absence of an official response from the parties involved is not proof that Jungkook's statement is absolute truth. It could be that behind the silence lies a systematic effort to let the narrative unfold freely in a direction certain parties desire. Furthermore, we need to question the role of social media in spreading and shaping perceptions of this issue. TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube algorithms don't work neutrally. They prioritize content that provokes emotional reactions, as that generates the highest engagement. Could it be that what we see and believe to be truth is merely the result of algorithmic bias? How aware are we of how our opinions are shaped by an information flow we don't truly control? Fans and the wider public now stand at a crossroads, to believe what they see, or begin questioning what they have always believed. But one thing must be remembered. Emotion cannot be the only determinant of truth. Disappointment, shock, or even empathy for Jungkook and Taehyung must not blind us to the possibility that all this may simply be an illusion designed to provoke uproar. Therefore, we urge readers to approach all information reflectively. Don't just read, question. Don't just accept, verify. Don't just react, analyze. Is this a genuine outpouring from one friend to another? Or a performance scripted by unseen hands to maintain public attention amid industry stagnation? We also remind readers that all information presented in this article comes from observations of various public sources that are not yet fully verified. Clip videos, discussion threads, and symbolic interpretations of BTS members' facial expressions are not empirical evidence. They are raw material needing further confirmation, so as not to become false narratives that ignite baseless emotions. Amid today's technological sophistication and information speed, critical thinking is more vital than ever. A truth is not always spoken loudly. Sometimes, it hides behind the noise of information intentionally crafted to divert attention. Therefore, we invite you, the esteemed readers, to treat this article not as the end of the truth-seeking journey, but as the beginning of deeper thought. Are you sure Jungkook's statement to HYBE truly reflects the reality? Or do you only believe it because so many others do? Do you have concrete evidence or just a feeling that it makes sense? To what extent is your belief based on data and not on social pressure from the online community? Remember, this industry is never simple. Relationships between individuals, institutions, and the public are a complex web controlled by interest, profit, and power. Every word spoken, every expression captured, even every pause in an interview can have double meaning. Never assume you know everything just because you see one side of a polished mirror. In conclusion, we are not asking you to hate anyone. We are also not asking you to fully trust us. But we urge you to keep thinking. Do not let emotion be your only compass in reading the truth. The entertainment world is not a stage for idealism. It is an arena of strategy, perception, and calculation. And if you are not vigilant, you will become an audience manipulated by a story whose ending was predetermined long before you ever realized it.